I was recently fortunate enough to spend some time with Ross Havezov, who is one half of Truth and Consequence, Australia's newest independent bottler of single malt whiskies, bottled with integrity straight from the cask. So for the first half of this video, I'm going to jump into the interview portion with Ross, let you get a little bit of background on the brand, and then we're going to come back and do a tasting and review of 4 of their expressions. So please enjoy my interview with Ross Havezov. Ross, one half of Truth and Consequence, and I'm really excited for this because they're Australia's newest independent bottler, bottling whiskey with integrity straight from the cask. So this appeals to me quite a lot as an enthusiast, and I'm very thankful for your time, Ross. So I'm looking forward to having a conversation, learning more about the brand, mate.
Well, mate, thank you for the introduction. Really grateful to be on the show, and thank you for the invitation. It's something I've wanted to do for a while. Really proud of our brand, so glad to be on the show. Thank you.
So I guess first and foremost, for the audience, who's the team behind Truth and Consequence? And maybe if you can give me a little background about your whiskey heritage, if you will.
How much time do you have? It's really, I'll try and keep it short and sweet, but pretty much myself, Ross Havezov, and my business partner, David Kutukus. Gosh, my whiskey journey started at a very young age. As a teenager, starting work in a bar just to earn some money. 96, I moved to South Africa. I continued working in a bar and restaurants, and then moved to nightclubs and became a VIP bartender and cocktail bartender and all sorts of interesting things, which actually led me to learn more about the industry in general. So that's where I really discovered my love for Jack Daniels, from all things. It's the journey with Jack Daniels that I started to kind of be more inquisitive around. There's other releases out there. There's not just that black label Jack Daniels, for example, or that Glenfiddich 12-year-old. Or, I started discovering limited editions, which fascinated me. And I started reading, researching, watching things. Me moving to the whiskey world, I started joining clubs online. That's where I met David. And when I decided to move to Australia, pretty much, he's like, "What? You're moving to Australia? Where to?" Sydney. "Oh my God, I'm in Sydney, so let's meet up." And the rest is history. We became such great friends and now business partners, which I'm very lucky to have around. So David is from Australia. He's been collecting Jack Daniels as well from many years, as well as other whiskies. He's got a massive collection. But he used to work in his family bottle shop back in the day in the 90s, which later he became the licensee of that shop. So, yeah, pretty much that's the team behind Truth and Consequence.
That's really cool. It's fascinating to see whiskey brings people together, and it's most certainly been the case for the two of you guys, across the world.
Yeah, most certainly. It is an amazing story, and yeah, it proves exactly that. Whiskey brings people together, and it's a wonderful vehicle, if you may, for this great friendships that you form throughout, with people from overseas that you've never met that will do anything for you. It's priceless.
That leads me nicely into my next question, Ross. Then does that play into the naming, right? What is Truth and Consequence all about? How did the name come up, and what does it actually mean?
Truth and Consequence has been in our minds for a while. Truth and Consequence name was born recently. However, we were talking, me and Dave, many years of, hey, you know what, we should do something on our own. And we started researching many years before. I'd say about 6 years ago. Yeah, about 2018, we started researching because creating something special is not just about, let's go buy a cask, put a label on it. We love whiskey. We love the passion. We've got the passion of, creating things that are special. And that's where Truth and Consequence became a thing. 6 years ago, I started talking. I was like, oh, let's research now to see what's involved. What do we want it to look like? We saw the lack of transparency and integrity in the whiskey industry. I mean, when you go and spend money, in my opinion, the label is your contract. And that's where we a little bit different. We decided, okay, you know what? We'll tell it all. But there you go. It's the truth and the consequences of that truth. So pretty much you will pick up that bottle. Yes, it's a lot of information, but it's the information I want to see on a bottle that I want to buy. Natural cask strength, natural color, single cask, where it's been distilled, which distillery name, dates. As much as we can put on the label, we will put what cask type. We went through a lot of research and talking to a lot of people in Scotland to get to the right people, the people that care about the whiskey industry and have the passion. Normally, you see non-chill filtered on labels, which is a good thing. However, non-chill filtration is still heavily filtered. There's few levels below that, like barrier filtering and so on and so forth, until you get to what we have on our label approved straight from the cask. And this is truly straight from the cask. Now, when you think straight from the cask, you can't just put it on because all bits and pieces. Yes, we use for our Scottish whiskey 25 micron bag, single bag. And for our Australian whiskies, we do use a little quarter-inch steel sieve just to catch all those big pieces.
What appealed to me when I first found out about Truth and Consequence, seeing the transparency and every element, and literally, like you're saying, this is straight from the cask. You must be one of the very few that actually does it at that most purest form, mate.
And it's so exciting to have this opportunity and to get these beautiful distilleries, which unfortunately the big names are very difficult to get, but we are trying. We are really making the connections, making the effort to find these unique casks. And as I mentioned, we've got the privilege to not to rush anything. Yeah, yet another independent. It's not just another independent bottler. I believe that the years that I've spent, and Dave as well, that we've spent over learning about whiskey and being involved in the whiskey industry for so long stands for something. And we believe that we can bring something great to our Australian whiskey aficionados. I'm really excited for the future.
So given that there are other independent bottlers in the market, what was it about the timing? Why now for Truth and Consequence? What was it that you saw that the market needed what you're doing?
There wasn't a plan. There wasn't. We were driven by a passion. We wanted to take the next step as a business. Of course, we are business, but I mean, that wasn't really front of mind. But no, there wasn't a time. There was, it's just the research that we've done through the years, the casks that we've purchased, and we took our time. We did not want to release, there's our first release, many dollars bottle, first release, buy it now. No, we actually came out with 4 bottles. We just didn't want to delay it any further. We were happy. Both of us were happy that now's the time. We've researched everything. We made sure everything's great. Yeah, let's bring it out. I mean, the transparency regarding information on labels, that was driving me quite a bit. But I still today I don't understand. And look, I might be harsh here, but I mean, when you're paying $250 a bottle, doesn't matter what it is, Australian, Scottish, there is nothing on it. We keep everything simple, straight to the point. I believe the whiskey should speak for itself. So that's where just said, you know what, let's release it. We've got enough casks and we continue building. So
I like that, man. I feel like we both think the same way in two sort of different sides of the equation. Me being the enthusiast that appreciates whiskey with integrity that's bottled this way, and the full story is there for me to make those purchasing decisions against, right? So what's next for Truth and Consequence? What's the plan from here? Can you reveal this?
Well, it's not a secret to us. There's nothing. we are building a good arsenal of casks, Australian and Scottish. We started with buying ready-made whiskies or semi-ready. We are hoping to bottle everything straight, no messing around. That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be going forward with the idea of thinking what uniqueness we can bring into it. We have the opportunity and the privilege, I would say, me and Dave, to have another business that subsidizes this pretty much. It's a great opportunity because we don't want to rush anything. When we buying our next cast, it's going to be carefully selected with people that are transparent and work with integrity, rather than we don't know what we're doing and we're just buying a cask just like that. So we are looking forward to the future. To be honest, we're quite proud how the Australian community has embraced this brand, because we're hearing on all good things around. So very proud of that.
It's a testament to, if you put out good quality product to a very knowledgeable whiskey audience that we seem to have in Australia, it's going to resonate. So, as I said earlier, it excited me. That's why we're on a call. I wanted to talk to one of the men behind it, mate. It's definitely caught my attention. So, how does my audience now buy those bottles and learn more about the brand?
We actually have a Truth and Consequence website, which we actually built specifically for that brand, and we made it to really resonate to the audience. It's www.truthandconsequence.com.au, and that's where you can buy the product. At this stage, that's the only place you can buy the product. However, as we go, we will be present at selected bars in Sydney, hopefully in Melbourne as well. If somebody wants to taste the product, we've got a partner bar in Sydney in Littlefield called Bar 26. Go visit Ed. Tell him we sent you. He's a great host. The whiskies are there on pour, all of them, all 5 releases.
I'll make sure that I put a link under the video as well, so anyone who's interested can go and have a look at the site. It's a very well put together site too. A lot of information, beautiful graphics and explanation, and the story behind each whiskey as well as the brand itself. So definitely check that out. I'm excited too because you've been very kind and generous to send me some samples, and I appreciate it. So after we do this, I'll get into a tasting and review these whiskies as well. So I'm looking forward to that.
This is going to be interesting. I'm just a bit nervous, but I'll take it as it is. Thank you for the compliment. I want to say we did not spare anything here. Website, liquid, labels, bottles, everything that we do, and we're going to continue to strive and learn, and even go better and better. Because my belief, the whiskey industry and the Australian whiskey crowd is tough crowd, I must say. It's the great critic. I mean, who better than them? I'm really looking forward to feedbacks more and more, and learning from that and building even a better brand going forward.
I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys do in the future, Ross. It's been an absolute pleasure learning more about the brand and just spending some good time with you, mate. As a fellow whiskey enthusiast, so thank you very much for spending some time with me.
No, thank you for having me. It's been an absolute exciting pleasure. I don't know how to put it. It's I should be doing these things more often.
Yeah.
I appreciate the time. Thank you, Wade.
Some fascinating stuff, right? This is a very interesting and intriguing brand, especially for a whiskey enthusiast like myself. And appropriately, Ross has shared with me 2 Australian whiskey samples and 2 Scottish whiskey samples to taste today. Have a look at these beautiful packaged bottles, these little samples. Super cool, beautiful colors, all natural. Okay, so for this tasting today, we are tasting the Spring Bay Distillery 4-year-old 100-litre Apera. We are tasting the Ben Nevis Sauternes Finish 10-year-old refill bourbon cask. We are trying the Killara Distillery 5-year-old French oak port cask. And finally, the Ardmore Distillery 12-year-old refill bourbon barrel. So let me pour these now into my Stolzel glasses and we'll get underway. No doubt for enthusiasts like myself, this is about as pure a whiskey tasting experience as you could ask for or hope for. All of Truth and Consequence releases are bottled at natural color. They are non-chill filtered. They are natural cask strength. They are not changed, tweaked, or, as Ross said, filtered in any way other than outside of trying to capture any barrel shards that come out of the cask as they decant them. About the most purest whiskey that you can ever expect to taste. And we are beginning with the Ardmore 12-year-old. There's this beautiful smokiness here. Wonderful. Smell how oily and rich this one is. Okay, let's nose the Killara 5-year-old French oak port cask. Whoa, decadent. Very rich Christmas cake notes. Wow, wonderful. The nose on the Ben Nevis Sauternes finished 10-year-old refill bourbon. That wonderful Sauternes note, that sort of sweet white grape, the hazelnut light note that's unmistakable. Lovely. And finally, the nose on the Spring Bay 4-year-old 100-litre Apera cask. Whoa. Wow, that's wonderful and vibrant. Very decadent, this one too. Gorgeous. My mouth is watering. I'm excited to try each of these, and at the end I'm going to tell you which one is my favorite. So let's dive in now to the Ardmore 12 refill bourbon barrel. Oh, wow. Flavorful days. Incredible. Obviously very strong at 62.8%, but just this beautiful richness, very sweet, typical bourbon type notes that you expect the vanilla come through, and then just this really hefty ashy smoke coming off the back. Wonderful. Onto the Killara Distillery 5-year-old French oak port. Cheers. Wow. Beautiful lavender note underneath right now. The texture on this is incredible. It drinks very well, surprisingly, at 63.5%, but that is absolutely approachable at that level. That's incredible. That texture and oiliness is beyond belief. Wonderful. Onto the Ben Nevis 10-year-old refill bourbon barrel Sauternes finish. Cheers. Lovely. Surprisingly approachable on this one as well. A little bit lower than the others. This is the lowest ABV of the four that I have here today with me at 58.6%. Great texture, exactly the Sauternes type flavor profile that I'd expect and be looking for. A lighter whiskey for sure, very nice as well. And now we will go to the final whiskey of today, and that is the Spring Bay Distillery 4-year-old 100-litre Apera cask, one of the 2 Australian whiskies in today's tasting. Cheers. Whoa, very powerful, really rich, musky, floral type note to this. Really strong floral notes, really hefty, almost a dusty note to it as well. Naturally, of course, at this level now, I'm going to add some water to each of these whiskeys, bring that ABV down a touch, unlock a little bit of the aromas and flavors, and open these whiskeys up to see what is uncovered. Let's do that now. Highly scientific here. This cap of these water bottles is approximately 5 mils of water, so I'm going to add that to each of these whiskeys. Okay, now these whiskeys have had some water added to them and they have been allowed to sit for a little bit just to open up a touch. We're going to go back through these from your left through to right, going on the nose one more time and then on the palate again as well, beginning with the Ardmore Distillery 12-year-old refill bourbon. Wow, this water has tamed down the smokiness and revealed this beautiful creamy vanilla note. Just fabulous. Okay, on the palate. Cheers. Wonderful. The smokiness is still there and the ratio is perfect. A gorgeous sweetness on this one and just that touch of smoky, ashy that I love, that contrasts so beautifully. This is a gorgeous Ardmore. Wonderful. Now onto the Killara Distillery, which is an Australian distillery, 5-year-old French oak port with the addition of water. Beautiful oak notes. Sweet, vibrant, citric notes that are so decadent, almost think burnt orange. Wow, great nose. Okay, on the palate. Cheers. So rich. If you're a fan of big, bold, heavy flavors with that sweetness underlying, this is it. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Moving on to the Ben Nevis 10-year-old refill bourbon barrel with a Sauterne finish cask on the nose. Sauternes is such a sweet and lovely aromatic note on it. It's almost like a alcoholic white chocolate is kind of what I get. On the palate now after the addition of water. Slangevar. Very pleasant. Just nice, easy, a lot softer than the others. There is absolutely a whiskey for all different types of palates and your flavor preference amongst these samples that I'm trying today. Also very pleasing. A touch of the dryness, a little bit of that white wine bitterness. Very nice. Okay, the final whiskey in today's lineup of the Truth and Consequence tasting is the Spring Bay Distillery 4-year-old 100-litre Apera cask. On the nose after some water. Wow, Spring Bay makes some fantastic whiskey. So aromatic. Very charming. really impressive floral notes combined with the decadence of a sherry cask on the palate now. Cheers. Beautiful stuff. Loads of the lavender, that musk type note, those musky, floral, dried flowers. This one still packs quite a punch, given that this one is the strongest of all of them at 65.8%. I definitely think that I could still add more water to this, but beautiful stuff. There is not one on this table in front of me today that I honestly could not recommend to you guys. They are all fantastic examples of whiskey that has been carefully selected in its purest, unadulterated form, based upon my preference and the flavor profiles that appeal to me the most. I would have to say my favorite of all of these samples today has been the Killara Distillery 5-year-old French oak port cask. I'm a sucker for a good port cask. This one, prior to adding water, even at 63.5%, was extremely approachable, and the texture on the palate was something else. Absolutely phenomenal. All of them are great. The Ardmore was wonderful. After the addition of water, I think the Ardmore is my favorite. It just brought out this wonderful bouquet of vanilla and then finished with the smoke and ash on my palate. Fantastic contrast. The texture of all of these prior to water was incredible. I just couldn't drink them at that level without adding some water, just to take care of my palate and bring them down a touch and open them up. But the experience of these straight from the cask is a testament to how fantastic these distilleries make these wonderful whiskeys, and a testament to Truth and Consequence for being so brilliantly selective with the types of casks that they are bottling and releasing for us as enthusiasts. If you are excited and interested in trying these whiskeys, head into the description on this video below. I will leave a link to the Truth and Consequence website where you can purchase these. If you are a fan of whiskey at a cask strength with no tampering, no mucking around, just whiskey as it's intended straight from the cask, this is the independent bottler for you guys. I hope that you've enjoyed this one today. A little bit different doing an interview, so I hope it gave you some great insight into this wonderful new Australian independent bottler. Let me know in the comments if this has been one that you've enjoyed. Please like the video and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more great single malt whiskey content.